Welcome to Woman Talk, where we keep it real. My name is Tara. Please join me and my girls Dee and Promesta as we have difficult and informative conversations. Our goal is to uplift and encourage you. Please go with us on this journey.
So welcome back, you guys. And I say welcome back to y'all. I say welcome back to myself. It's been a minute. I have been kind of out doing some things. So, it's great to just be here with my sisters. Great to have you guys, tune in to what we have to talk about today. Today, we're going to be talking about just really being transparent and the things that we have gone through, what we're going through now, and really how that is going to really get us to where we're going to be, because so many things that we go through can either make or break us. And we're here to support you guys and helping you to not be broken in the things that we've gone through. We're going to be sharing some things today. So I'm so excited. It's been a minute since I've been on. So super excited. We're going to talk about just being transparent and being real with things that we're going through. So welcome.
So Promessa, since you've been the one MIA girl, you're going to have to just kind of update us and tell us what you've been up to.
Yeah. Listen, y'all, listen. Let me tell you. So Saturday, March 5th, I am co-hosting a women's event in Orlando, Florida, y'all. So y'all are close or far. I mean, we got people flying in from Texas, Pennsylvania, New York, Kansas. I mean, we got some women flying in for this event. It's going to be a powerful event. It is a faith-based event, but I'm all about supporting other women, encouraging them. So we're also going to have an expo. We're going to have some praise and worship. It's going to break out into a concert. So people ask me, well, what is this? Is it an event? Or, we're going to have speakers. This is something y'all ain't never had before. Okay. And nothing I've never been to, it's either speakers or piano or church or, whatever, but I kind of wanted to hit it with different subjects, different things that women do. So we will have some worship. We're going to have some guest speakers. We're going to have some dance, with the flags. We're going to break out into a concert in between. There will be a word, the expo, food trucks, So we're expecting some women to be here. We have some very well-known Christian hip hop artists. Y'all know I'm all about my music. Back in the day, it was a different type of music, but hey, I'm still about the hip hop. It's just got a little different wording. So we have some very well-known Christian hip hop artists, some upcoming Christian hip hop artists, coming up out of Miami. We got Tampa, just different artists coming from different places. So I have that. I'm also moving forward with my nonprofit organization. Praise the Lord. So that's moving forward. The website should be up very, very soon. I am on social media platforms for that. So, and that is Divine Network Connections. So that is where I am going to be, I go already now into the juvenile detention centers for the youth, and I minister to them, I mentor them. But my heart is for also not just there, but when they age out of that, when they turn 18, to continue to mentor them, to be with them, to connect them with other people who are entrepreneurs or who have organizations and businesses. So because these kids, a lot of times they're up in some stuff, they're up in some gangs, they got some domestic violence, substance abuse, broken homes. Really, we talk about women in ourselves and being grown and going through some things. And some of these kids, they don't have anybody, so it's for when they get out to bridge that gap.
A little bit about that, because I remember watching a little bit of one of your lives while you guys were in the center. But talk about what that feels like what the energy is like to just be able to be in there and be, engaging in worship and mentorship with these youth who are in that situation at the time.
Yeah. So in that specific time, I believe that you're referring to. So, one of, a brother in Christ, he was rapping, he was doing some Christian hip hop, the music, the words, they're so powerful. They have such an impact on these youth. It's all positive music. It is all to elevate them to another level spiritually, to connect them with God. I'm all about if it's going to reach them at where they're at, to get them to a better place in their life and connect them, then praise God. But when you are in the room, as you walk in, you guys know how when you walk in a room, you can like sense if somebody's arguing, if there's that tension, some stress within two people. So when you walk into this room, you definitely feel that, these kids are in there for a reason. They've done some things, and you can almost sense and feel that the hostile environment that they're in. But as we begin to minister to them and speak to them, and we just keep it real, we talk about what we've been through in our lives. We talk about really, really being transparent with them. So we do talk about some hardships in our childhoods, but in the room, you can feel the release of like the anger. You can feel the release of just a lot of hurt as we minister to them with the music. Through the Christian hip hop, through the music. It's a way to get to them where they're at.
Mm-hmm. And a lot of times you can, when it comes to youth, because that's one of the things that I've worked with over the years, is to be able to be relatable. Mm-hmm. You can open the doors with young people.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And just love them. Like they just need that love. They need to, and they know if you're being real or if you're not being real. Like if you're sincere and genuine in your love for them, they know. You know.
Mm-hmm. And we need that right now, because we have right now. It's like it's like our young people are being attacked. It's every time you're like, oh, 17-year-old got shot, 16-year-old got shot, 15-year-old got shot. And then the person that's doing the shooting is their peers, like the youth need it more now than ever.
Yes.
And it's so interesting because I think that, and not to be ultra religious, because that's not what our platform is for, but y'all know we got to be who we are. Mm-hmm. I truly believe that there's certain spirits over different places. Yeah. And right now, this killing spirit, murder spirit, and our producer Rashonda can attest to it. In the area we live in, it's kids dying, babies getting shot, 9-year-olds, 12-year-olds. Like it's a huge issue, and it's something. When you think about what do I pray, this is it. Because if you think about it globally, what's happening, this is the future. Like we say it all the time, like because we're always talking about the church of tomorrow or the this of tomorrow or the that of tomorrow. If babies keep dying, what's the of what tomorrow? So we have to really be honest and intentional about what we're doing and where we're spending our resources and how we're addressing these things. Because to address these young people who are hurting as if it's the criminality of it, because that comes into play. Yes. My day job, we do a co-responder program, and the police officers we work with, it's sometimes pull and tug, you know what I mean? Because we're touchy-feely therapists. They're police officers. And so it's like, if y'all ain't taking them to the hospital, we taking them to jail. There's no in the middle. We got to find it in the middle. To be honest. So that's one of those things, and it's like getting down and dirty with it. Like, really, what are we doing? No, they don't want to hear from you if you ain't never been through nothing. Period.
Right.
Mm-hmm. You coming to me, what can you help me with when you've not experienced anything?
I started my nonprofit working with youth in 2003. And that, you just work with youth. And as I was working with youth, and a lot of them would talk to me, and not trying to, I don't want to place blame, but I'm going to say that we need to also figure out a way to provide the parents with resources, because if the parents are coming from, it's like people coming from a broken place, raising people from that same broken place to raise them to be broken. So, and we all have been through it. We all have come from, a broken place. We all have a story. And that's another thing. We can't be too proud to tell these young people our story. like we walking around and have had a perfect life. And that is not what has happened, is that we all have come from a broken place. It's how have we recovered, or how have we been able to move forward from that broken place? Did you do the work? You know, and so I think that's another thing, is how do we also provide resources to the parents to help them come out of their broken place. I just remember, and maybe Tara, I'm gonna say this, and maybe this is something we need to do, but I just remember even reaching out to Tara when I took on my little cousin that's living with us. When we took her in, I reached out to Tara to provide services to her mother in hopes that something could give in whatever broken place she was coming from, that she could come out of that. And unfortunately, she wasn't ready at that time, but we have to find a way where we can reach the parents, so that, because us talking to kids for 1 hour or 2 hours a week, it can't erase the 24 hours a day that they're of what they're living in. And so I just really hope that we can find a place where we're working with the parents as well to try to help the parents. And I think that just comes from us not having our, you know, I think we talked about it. We got to make sure we're not turning up our nose to people. I've been guilty of it. You know, when people are living a life that you don't want nothing to do with, you just like, don't want a part. I don't want a part of that. And we got to stop thinking like that and thinking, how can we help people? How can we be there for people? And, you know, that's just my thing, is we need to come up with a way of resources.
It's interesting too that you bring that up. It's funny because I'm getting ready to do a parent workshop this coming week.
Ooh, come on, girl.
And
we need that.
So I was doing this research because I work at a couple schools where the kids have severe emotional behavioral disabilities, and the parents are always depleted, and there's nothing really for them. So I'm doing this parent workshop, but I was referred a book by a friend of mine, and it talks about parenting kids from hard places. And it's phenomenal. It is, you know, it's Christian based. The book is called The Connected Parent. That's what it's called. The Connected Parent. And it's by a psychologist Dr. Karen Purvis, who did a lot of that work before she passed away. The whole issue with it in this parenting these kids from these hard places is that you have to do it in a different way. But the good thing is it's information out there. The bad thing is people from our communities of color, won't access that information because they don't think that, well, basically those are white people and they don't get where we come from. But you have people like me and like us who can translate that information over. And that's needed because it was great information. And that's the thing. It's not new, these concepts in other communities, but for us, it seems like it's new because we've never tapped into it. But it's important that we do, because and I was like, man, that's so interesting. They didn't look at the kid is the problem. It went directly to the parenting. You know, you have to, kids who are in hard situations or who come from hard places have to be parented differently. What we try to do is the cookie cutter because we don't realize as parents, we've caused some of those hard places. And because of that, we've got to do some resets ourselves and do things some different ways that can go back and help. And I was like, I was the one who was building the car while I'm driving. I'm learning these skills, implementing them in my own house, and then teaching them to other people because that was my job. We've got to start to do that and redeem some of the time that's been lost, because many times we're upset because our communities are behind, but we haven't done the things that we need to do to push forward. So you find pockets here, pockets there, doing things because people see a need, but we don't see the huge, I want to say, networking, like what Promise is talking about, to pull these things together and make the type of impact that we need to make. Because yes, small impacts are great, but what happens if we all come together and we can make huge impacts? And I've gone back and forth because we talked about the book. Now the book is out, and I found myself kind of like, like, what's this feedback going to be? What are people going to be saying? But the intended purpose has been what's been helping. It was to help people, and people are saying that they've been helped. That's the purpose. So if me, little old me, telling my story can help somebody, what about all of our collective stories? What can we do with that?
I think we could do a lot with it. I think it's just one of those, it's so many different things that I think that we definitely can do. And now it's like not being ashamed of your story and sharing the story. It's like, that's where you have to, we have to change our way of thinking, because we really, I don't know, that won't say all of us, but I know most of us came up in a time where we were taught from our parents and grandparents that you just didn't discuss. Young children were seen and not heard. And we can't still function like that. We can't still keep moving like that with even our children. Like, it's times my kids tell me something and it stings. It stings real bad. But I give them that opportunity to tell me how they feel, because it's their reality. And I can't change, shutting them up doesn't change their reality.
That's right.
Telling them, and we have to separate being quick to say that somebody's being, now disrespectful is disrespectful, but a person, your child, adult child, younger child, giving you their opinion respectfully is not being disrespectful. You know what I'm saying? Like, so we have to, and I think that's where I know that's the kind of time my mom them came up in. If you say anything back,
right,
it is seen as being disrespectful, even if you didn't say something that was disrespectful. It's the point that you even opened your mouth and said it.
And this is how I say it: just because we don't like it doesn't mean it's disrespectful. So as a parent, because we heard something we don't like, we put the title on it that was disrespectful. But the reality was, or is that it wasn't disrespectful. We just didn't like what we heard. But we have to get used to doing it if we're going to have real dialogue and real change, period. Starting at home. And it's so, I'm telling you, because you still get it. I'm like, I'm 50 years old and have been asked if I'm being disrespectful. And I'm like, what you mean? No, I'm not being disrespectful. I'm speaking what needs to be spoken. But we have these and it's like a lot. How do we got to start to get to the process where we're breaking these chains? Because if we don't, we'll be sitting here with all this potential. They said the richest place on the planet is the graveyard. Think about that. Think about that.
And as you were saying that too, about just being able to provide services to the parents as well. So as I'm going through and I'm connecting and I'm networking with other organizations, other, ministries, just different, even just people in general who have a heart to just want to change and help the community. I keep hearing it takes a village, it takes a village, it takes a village. And it truly does. It takes a village to raise up these kids. And Deandra, you brought up a good point about, connecting with the parents and providing parents resources as well. So that as I expand in my organization, we're supposed to go to different cities this year to, do some outreach and talk about, my organization. That's a definite, like a good point to bring up and try to network with other, cities and organizations to provide that. If we treat these young men and women that are in these juvenile detention centers, if we treat them like criminals, their mindset and their actions are going to respond to that. But if we go in and we're loving them and showing them that they're a person that has some things that they are going through, that they've been through, and that they just need help, to work those things out, versus treating them like, let me just put these shackles on your hands and feet and walk you to the room.
But just even imagine, as a young person, every young person that is there did not do anything. And I will tell you, I will never forget, and it would just really stay in my mind forever, when my son, my middle son, my middle child rather, got put in the detention center because there was a fight and they didn't know who did it. Like the young man that ended up getting beat up, they didn't know who it was. The young man said he felt like he was getting hit by multiple people. So they asked him who was there. He named the people. My son was there. My son was arrested. My son was put in the detention center. And at that detention center, I remember us talking to him. He was 15, I think, at the time. And I remember us talking to him, and he said, I didn't touch him. Like, I walked off, I left. So he's telling us, and we're like, oh my goodness. But I remember, and I will never forget this, is that the person that heard him, which would be the referee at the detention center, told him that he was a danger to society and that he did not deserve to walk on the streets, as they had him handcuffed. And I remember crying, like literally, when you know your kid is nothing more than a huge teddy bear, you're like, he's protective, but not just where he's gonna go get violent. Like, he's that don't start none, won't be none type of person. And I remember that just devastating me. And then for him to have to hear that, and then for them later to find out he didn't do it. And I felt like the system failed here. There was no apology. All you did was spoke into him that he was not worth walking on the streets, and he didn't do it. And I remember him telling us that he knew he didn't do this, and at a point, because they kept him at the detention center for 7 days, and even though that doesn't seem like a long time, it was long enough for him to tell us that he had eventually considered taking his life, because he's like, I'm never gonna leave here, and I didn't even do anything. And I just remember just thinking, oh my God, 15 years old, never being removed from your parents, and to have somebody speak into you that you did not even deserve to walk on the streets, and to later find out that you didn't even do it, and you don't get as much as an apology for somebody to speak that into you, and how mentally it had to affect him, even though he knew he didn't do it, for somebody to speak that into you as you're a young person. And so I'm saying that to say that those kids could be in detention centers for things they didn't do. My son, had it not been a lady driving by that witnessed, that stopped and pulled over her car, didn't even live in the same city, but stayed around long enough to give her name and to testify that my son was the one that walked away. He told them not to fight. They continued to fight, so he walked off. But for him to have to get arrested after telling people not to do something that they opted to continue to do, and a person, before you're even found guilty, you're not even found guilty, and to be told that you're a menace and you should not be walking the streets. And so can you imagine what those kids are being told in the detention center?
Mm-hmm.
As they're going to court.
Not fun, it's not pretty.
It's not fun and it's not pretty. And when they say you're innocent until proven guilty, but then they're pouring all of this negative into these children. I'm not saying everybody, but I'm saying that it happens because I witnessed it.
Mm-hmm.
And so,
it's true. And I hear you, because I've gone to scenes. Y'all know I don't like, I say it, I don't like co-responder work, but I've done it because I've had to do it. I've had to go out and respond to some of these mental health crises. And with some of the stuff that you see, it's just not even, you like, wow, you did that. Even providing training to police, because I that's a part of my job. I do that when we train on mental health issues. And it's tough, it's rough. It really is. Because I'm looking there in the moment, this is happening, but still there's this attitude that as a community, we've not been able to break. And I mean a community of Black and brown and yellow folks. Like, we've not been able to break this mindset. And it's like, and it's global. It's a global mindset. So it's like, what do we do? How do we get in there? How do we make sure? And if it's one person at a time, fine. But doing something, continuing to do, continuing to reach out, continuing to address trauma as what it is. You know, and I'll say this, the mental health community, you know, of course, I love my community. We have to have standards. We have to have standards. And so to make work easier, they've done a lot of changing. And I think I've talked about this before on another one of our episodes, the changing of the definition of trauma, because so many things can traumatize a person. They've tried to kind of, you know, bear it down. But the reality is there's a lot of unaddressed trauma in our communities, and we've got to begin to address it, at like dig it up, because the root of a lot of the things that we see are coming from that. The dysfunction that we see is coming from these places. And I like, I think Dee Dee, you were saying broken place, but I like also to use from these hard places. They're hard places that we come from, because you can ask people, it's people who have been traumatized that don't feel like they're broken. But if you say, did you come from a hard place? Yes. You probably did, you know. So it's just, how do we begin? And I want people to chime in and talk to us. You know what I mean?
One thing though, Tara, I think a problem is sometimes, like you said, we coming from a hard place or a broken place. Some people don't realize that they still sitting there. So some people sit there and they sit there and they become the victim. Like there's just like, they just like to be in a re-victimized position because they really don't see that they're there. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. It's like you really have to do work. When I realized the place that I was in, I really did work on myself. Like it was just really work that I had to do to realize, you know, that why I was the way that I was. I will say that, you know what I'm saying? Or why thing was, and try to deal with it and heal from it. You have to. You don't just, you can't just go through things and just say, I'm just okay because I'm okay.
But also,
this is as good as it's gonna get.
Exactly.
But also sometimes we come from, you know, a background or brokenness or hardship, and we don't realize that it is that much of a hardship, or it is truly that broken, because we don't know what healthy is. Truly, don't know what a healthy relationship is. Don't know what a positive environment really is, because we've never been exposed to it. So,
but this is something I say in prime. It's so good. Like when you say that, because I was doing some couples counseling with a couple, and they were saying, well, I don't know what it's supposed to be like. I don't know what it's supposed to be like. And I hear that from a lot of people who come from dysfunctional backgrounds. But what that does for you is gives you the opportunity to define it for yourself in a way that's healthy based on what you're learning. So if you're getting help, do you see what I mean? You're in a good position. You don't have anything to compare it to. You can make your own definition of what your healthy relationships are going to look like based on you being healthy.
Right.
So it's like, get healthy. You know, once you get healthy, once you're healthy, your mind and body they no longer accept unhealthy things. It's like all these different things. People just have to be committed to the learning.
But also, you know, when you're exposed to something positive, you know, even just, you know, as I look back in my, you know, my relationships, and in a specific relationship that I was in, he was such a kind man, like DeAndre, you were saying, like a gentle giant. He was so good for me, and he was just an all-around wonderful, loving man, and truly, truly showed me what a healthy relationship was, what it is to be healthy mentally in every way, you know. And so of course I was very unhealthy at that time, and hence, you know, we didn't go through with, you know, getting married. Smart on his on his side, that, you know, but it showed me who I was and how much work I needed, and the unhealthy behaviors that I had, and I worked all of that out. So I just, you know, I'm very thankful for, you know, people like you guys in my lives, and you know, people like him that are healthy and change, because he did show me that. And that brought me to where I am today, in setting boundaries and having healthy relationships, and just coming out of the environment of what where I came from. So it's very important, like you guys are saying, to have those healthy relationships, put up some boundaries, even if it's with our family. Sometimes it's with our own parents, our siblings, you know, those close to us. Sometimes it's with our best friends. Sometimes we just need to remove ourselves to really get better. And that's okay. It's okay to do that.
Girl, it is okay.
And I talk about that in the book, not a shameless plug for the book, but I talk about
get it in, girl, get it in. We want to hear about it.
The need sometimes to suspend the relationship, because sometimes we're in positions to where we've been hurt by a person, or it's just so dysfunctional that we can't grow.
That vicious cycle.
And it's a cycle. And it's like, not like, oh, I'm cutting you off and I'm never going to talk to you anymore.
Right.
But I've got to remove myself from the constant negative stimuli so that I can grow, or give you the opportunity to grow. So I say it like this: you leave long enough for them to see the benefit in changing, or for you to be strong enough to deal with them if they choose never to change.
Yeah.
You know, but there's so much opportunity. I don't even want to say potential, because that's a may or may not. There's so much opportunity in what happens when you set your intention on that. So foolishness or dysfunction or mess keeps you distracted from the positive things you can set your intention on. So if we think about that, but it's like, set your intentions to be productive. Set your intentions to break cycles. A lot of times we're not intentional. We just sit up there and we're just like, okay, whatever. That's how they gonna be. But you can choose how you're gonna deal with them in advance of getting into the stressful situation.
As I went through my divorce, you know, last year, and the divorce is now final. There was a time
She's single, y'all. Okay, sorry.
I don't know if being single means available just yet, but I'm definitely single. So I don't know if I'm available, but you know, all in God's timing, all in God's timing. But as I went through the divorce process, when I was in the process of it, I kept looking back at all the good times, the great times, the fun times, the laughing, the happiness, the joy, the hugs, the happiness in our home. And I would start to get sad, and I would start to question, is this divorce supposed to go for? Am I supposed to move forward with this divorce? And please, you know, for our viewers, this is not to put down anybody in any way, shape, or form. This is just to bring it to your attention. Think about it if this applies to you. So I'm not in any way, shape, or form putting him down or the situation down. But as I looked back at all the good things, I started to get sad and depressed, and you know, I was rethinking, am I supposed to go through with a divorce? But it was a very, very unhealthy, dysfunctional marriage relationship. It was not healthy for me at all. And so I wanted to help him. I wanted to, you know, get him counseling, and, you know, I'm that person where I want to support you. Let's get you, you know, what you need, the services that you need, you know, but for me, it was very, very unhealthy, and for my family as well. And so, again, coming from, you know, my view, my standpoint, it was like God was telling me. There was a verse, where Lot's wife looked back, but she looked back at all the good things. They were rich. They had all these things. And so it was like God was telling me, you are not to be like Lot's wife. you are not to look back, or you will not enter that of which I am calling you into. And sometimes when we are in relationships like that, or what do they call it? They honeymoon you, and so you want to hold on to the good things in that relationship, and you keep thinking he's going to change, or things are going to get better, or what about this great day that we had? And so sometimes it's the positive things in the relationship that keeps us in a very dysfunctional relationship. And that could be even with friends, with family, it could be with anybody. And sometimes you have to really let go of even the good things that we hold on to be able to move forward in a even, a positive environment, to let go of that dysfunctional relationship that we have. So.
And sometimes you can hold on to the good times. You just better think about them bad times.
Right.
I was just going to say that, because having a good time is not a testament always to them. Does that make sense? So as women who have been traumatized, we're conditioned to not think of ourselves as contributing anything good. Does that make sense?
Wow.
So our mind is going to automatically say, oh, we had a good time. But subconsciously, what that does, it doesn't say we had a good time because of us, because you're fighting through the trauma, fighting through the codependency. Your mind goes, we had a good time because of them. That's not necessarily the case. So it's like, when you think about all of these things, it's dysfunction is dysfunction. But we also, once you've been traumatized and you begin to heal, we're very idealistic, because we'll do a thing where like, well, if God can help me, he can help anybody. Right. But if he can, that just don't mean you're supposed to be with him. So it's
that person has to put in the work. I mean, they have to be ready to put in the work.
Absolutely. And it's not that, because we're not on here advocating for divorce. We just had an awesome episode about a couple who made it through some real serious adversity.
That was so good. That was so good.
That was. We actually.
That was so good.
We should talk about that for a second, though. You need to check out their book. I think it's We. Is it We Redo? I think.
Yeah, We Redo.
Redo. Yes.
Yeah, okay. And for Station Ed is that they made it. They're such a beautiful couple.
Yeah, because it's like,
we done talked about the divorce part. Let's talk about the restoration.
Because the rest that's like huge. You can, but everybody, what they talked to was the work that they did collectively as a couple, two people working.
Yes.
Most of the time when we haven't been fully healed and we with somebody else who ain't fully healed, and we start the healing process, we think we can drag them along. No, this is a step by step in sync thing. You got to be able to do that together. And then that's what works, because that to me, gosh, I don't even know. That was just excellent, because to go through that kind of adversity, many people can't come back from that. And they did speak to the power of God in that, of course, but also what they put into their marriage.
Yes.
After it all crumbled, what were the new building blocks?
But it was just nice to see that they both put in the work. One person can't put in work and the other person's not putting in the work, and then you make it work. But it was just nice that her deal breaker, she found out, was not God's deal breaker. Right. That's what she said. So ended up, they ended up working it out and making it work. And I just hope that from what they said, if it can work, is that people have to know that you both have to put in the work.
But one thing that was significant that they both acknowledged how they hurt one another and took responsibility for that. If you can do that, if you can, and this is across the board, if you can acknowledge how you hurt a person, take responsibility and make correction, you can make any of your relationships work.
Absolutely.
So if you guys could take anything from our talk today, first, I'm just gonna say I love y'all and I miss y'all. I really do. Just I love when we have guests, but I really love too when we can just come on and kick it, because what people have to realize is what they're seeing is how we get together and talk. Like we get together and talk to one another like this. You all just are able to come into, they probably say, what kind of weird friendship they got? They always talk about social issues and stuff like that.
Hey, that's life.
But
Right.
you know, that you get to be able to, you know, we get to be able to do that. And then to bring people in and to invite them into our friendship and to see how, if you know, how we can assist them with whatever they're going through. But if I was to ask you guys what you would take away from today, what would it be? Or what you want to leave? Either what you want to take away or what you want to leave.
Well, I mean, one thing that I'm definitely leaving with is, I mean, I've already did the work in the past. It's just really, it's really with our young people. I have a young person that is an attorney now that was in my mentoring program, and she came up to me and said, Mom Reed, you can't, it can't end there. You know how much you helped me? And it just told me, and that was at the beginning of COVID when I ran into her, that I mean, the work clearly on the news, it shows us that it's work to be done. And so hopefully we can just start, it's to, move forward with my organization, to keep doing the work, rather, to get back.
Can you please share the name and that your social handles are, how do they get in touch with your organization?
Oh, Emma Associations, and on Facebook is Emma Associations, which is named after my grandmother, Emma. And so I am going to definitely start moving forward with doing more. Definitely, I want to work with, our young people and the parents on different resources to try to get a change in our youth, because this can't be it right here.
I think for me too, it just broadened my the umbrella of what I have to do, or what was placed in my heart to do, but just broaden that umbrella and how to branch out and collaborate with other organizations and really reach the parents as well. So that was, an eye opener for me. Even though that these are kids in juvenile detention centers and in foster care, sometimes they're at a point where they want to reconnect with their parents, or they do have a connection, and it needs to be, maybe some counseling and, things like that. But also just to, put that out there as, I move forward in my organization with Divine Network Connections. I am in collaboration with another nonprofit. We go into the youth detention centers and, the prisons and minister to them and bring the word. So if any, and it's in different cities and different states. So if we have a viewer, looking for that, wanting to maybe have us go and minister or speak to somebody in their area, definitely, look us up on social media or, through here. Mm-hmm.
The book, of course, Beauty for Ashes, Overcoming Trauma to Live in Victory. I'm more excited than I've ever been about it. I'm excited about the feedback. I'm excited that you can Google it and it pop up.
Yes. I'm
offering, I want to call it family coaching in a sense, where, I'll come to you. It's that serious right now, because if the family system is eroded, our communities don't have a chance. And so to be able to do that, you can look me up on social media. You can reach out to me. We can do a consultation. How will that look? We can talk about how to book me to come out if that's something that you need. And we can go from there. But it's just, 2022 is our year to really let's get it together.
Right.
Let's get it together as a community. We keep talking about the pain that we're suffering, but let's talk about how we can win. That's where we're going. So
Tara Ray fixed my life.
Don't do that. Don't do that. That is not what we're doing. It's funny.
We love you too.
We're gonna drag our producer in here one day. She stay in the background because she thinks that's where but she's got so much power and so many powerful.
Shout out to her.
I know we should have made her come in to talk about her organization that works for you.
Right.
Yeah, you won't be able to stay back there. That camera gonna come on sooner or later.
Yeah, and I just want to say to just close it out as just thank you guys once again. Thank you to our viewers. Thank you to Roshana, just my sisters. I love y'all. But for our viewers that want to really start a nonprofit, start an organization, start a business, do it. Just do it. If don't let anybody who's saying any negative things to you hold you back. Any words that were spoken over you. Just do it. Walk out in faith. Take that step in faith. Come around people who will encourage you and uplift you and support you. But as you do it, remember your why. Why did you start it? Why are you doing this? Why do you want to do it? Why do you want to make a difference? What is it behind the why? So as you move forward, and maybe you're in an organization that's yours and you've been in it for 10 years, you're getting tired, you're getting drained, you're feeling it. Remember your why. Why did you start it in the beginning? So just remember your why. But we thank you guys, and we'll see you on the next round.
And remember, don't suffer in silence.
That's right. We would just like to invite you in on our podcast where we're going to talk about some things. So get your tissues ready. It's going to be deep, but it's going to be real. So we invite you to just sit in with us and share our experiences, share your experiences with us, and we'll share ours with you.